joined the Methodist Church. You see, so when I argued with God, and God remained silent, I thought I won. Because after that, in 2004, he blessed me with a status, indefinite leave to remain, and then the same month, he blessed me with a job without interview. This IT job without interview. They just gave me the job. Because I was working as a volunteer, they were pleased with me, and then they gave me the job. This is what happened. And then, in 2007, my employer decided to cut 2 jobs. And then I told you I failed the interview. Why did I fail? I failed because, you see, I come from a different culture. I think Mustafa and his wife can confirm. Back home, you go for interview, you started saying, oh, so I can do this, or I am good at this. You are out. No one will take you. Because they say that you are too proud, you are too ambitious, so they don't want you around. You see, so when they ask you a question, you need to be humble. They want humble people. So I showed the humility. This is what it cost me. And then it was part of God's plan. That's why I saw that do not take one thing in isolation. It was part of God's plan because after that they gave me they have to give me the feedback. It's when they started to tell me, what is this? I said, no, this is what I'm doing. This I'm doing. I saw even the documentation. I produced all this. But this is what you should have told us. She started to explain to me how it happened. She said, yeah, you need to boast. You said that you can do this. You are the right man for the job. You see, for me it was a preparation. I felt that it prepared me. When I went for my first interview with the Ministerial Recognition Committee, I impressed them because I knew what to say to them. You understand? So it was a part of, you see this failure which led that I lost the job, but it's part of a bigger plan for me to know how to be successful in my interview to do God's work. And then when I've been made redundant, they give me money. This money was necessary for me to pay for my training and to cover my transportation expenses. So I did it myself. So the Lord gave me this job. He decided to take it away. Praise be to his name. So it's when I understood that I didn't have a choice but to go back to training. That's why I resumed my training. Lesson 3. God's will for you is known by the enemy who will fight it. Can you repeat? God's will for you is known by the enemy who will fight it. Again, God's will for you is known by the enemy who will fight it. The enemy will know God's plan for you and will fight it to prevent it from happening. This will be like a confirmation. Remember the birth of Jesus Christ, the birth of Moses. The enemy knew God's mission for them. That's why he managed to kill all the children of their ages to stop God's plan from being fulfilled. The enemy was fighting my calling and put me in a difficult position for my interview. I was in a very difficult position in my first interview because my wife left, and then the Ministerial Recognition Committee, they knew about it. So it was the last question. But with confidence, I told them, I said, no, she will come back in the right time. And this is what happened. So God always makes sure that his plan is fulfilled and in his time. This leads us to our fourth and last lesson. Lesson 4. Lesson 1. Can you repeat? Lesson 1. God's will for you is personal. Lesson 2. God's will for you is part of a master plan. Number 3. Lesson 3. God's for you is known by the enemy who will fight it. And lesson 4. God's will and timing. You see, time is everything. We need to know that God never acts late. He does all things wonderful in his time. The time he has set in his own authority. What does that mean? Does it mean that if God says something to you now, you need to do it right now, as a matter of urgency? Not necessarily. That's why timing is another thing. You need to refer to God to know the timing. Because if it's now, you need to act now. But if you develop a good relationship with God, He will start to prepare you for what is coming ahead. He may tell you something now, so that you may start thinking about it and try to understand it. So in the right time, when he will ask you to act upon it, you will understand. It will not come out of the blue. But if God is saying something to you, you choose deliberately to delay it, this is another matter. This is called disobedience. Disobedience, what is the definition of sin? Disobedience to God. You disobey to God, you are sinning against God. That's all. So if He wants you, last time in my last message, I mentioned that someone here in our midst is in trouble. But he does not understand the real problem. Because he is focusing on a small picture. Instead of trying to see the bigger picture and what is the impact or what he's experiencing inside this big picture. This is what he needs. Because I will see the person in May, because I realize that the person doesn't understand. I will talk to this person. You will understand if I speak to you, I come to you in May. In May, it's you I'm talking about. To help you, because you are missing the point. The person is focusing on the situation is not this one. Try to look beyond it. When you are focusing on this, you are wasting your time. When I told him, the person was surprised. I said, but I will have opportunity to explain to you what's going on. So, my wife, when the Lord now, you see, before my graduation in June 2010, the Lord started speaking to her to come back. First, she started rebuking these messages. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And no, the message is still there because the message is from God. God wanted her to come back. It was the shock of her life. You believe, you heard from God, He told you to leave, you left. 6 years He kept you away from Eastern Baptist Church, and then suddenly He's telling you to come back. I said, no. That's why when I was asking God questions to understand what happened, it's when He explained to me all this I'm telling you now. I said, no, don't take it, because for her, you need to tell him something, tell her something to put her in a position to leave the church. That's why I said, do not take it literally. No. He wanted her to leave so that she may be away from me. I start learning to liaise with God directly. And then this is what happened when I reached this point, and then I finished my training, and then for my graduation, she's coming back, but she doesn't have nothing to tell me anymore. I am a grown-up servant of God, not depending on her anymore. So she came back, that's why she sees back. She doesn't know the message I will share. I do not need to refer to her. If she's doing something for God, I don't need to know about it. Unless she speaks to me, but she will not. Because I told you we are different, we may have different views for the same thing. You see, this is what happened. And then when she obeyed, she came back mourning, and then the Lord comforted her. 1 year later, she became the treasurer. It's when she understood that this is what God wanted her to come back. Now, in conclusion, brothers and sisters, Christian life is about developing a personal relationship with our Heavenly Father. God is willing to do great things in our lives. He wants to use us and bless us more than we can comprehend or imagine. But this can be achieved only if we discern and understand His will and act accordingly to cooperate. This is what I like to advise people. If you want to make your prayer easier, what I advise you to do? Pray to seek God's will about the situation. If God's will is revealed to you, now pray and wait for it to be fulfilled. Because God will make sure to fulfill His will, His plan. This is the secret. But if it requires a lot of humility to accept God's plan, which may be the opposite of what you think. Listen carefully. Listen to this statement I'm going to make now. God will always give you more than you can personally bear on your own. Who agree with me with this statement? If you agree with me, raise your hand. God will always give you more. He will give you more than you can personally bear on your own. But it will never be more than He can bear. What does that mean? He will give you more than you can bear on your own personally. Because if you can, you will not need His help or support. This is what it means. That's why He will give you more. What you can handle yourself, no, He gives you more than you can, so that you will have no choice but to turn to Him for help. This is what He expects from us. Discerning and understanding the will of God will help us to develop this relationship with God based on trust. Just think about it. Who would you rather talk to? To someone who doesn't listen to you or care about what you are saying? Or, on the other hand, someone who always wants to listen to you, to everything you say, and is absorbed by every word you say? And more than that, is acting about what you are saying. Who do you prefer to talk to? Of course, you would speak to someone who cares about you. Likewise, listen to that, God speaks more frequently to those who listen to Him, and less to those who turn a deaf ear to Him. This is the reality we need to understand. The more you are obedient, He will tell you. Let me tell you also one more thing. Everything God is teaching me, I am happy to share with others quickly. Why? Do you know why? Because the more you are sharing with others, God will see that you are a worthy instrument in His hands to reach out these other people. Because these other people, they cannot refer to Him directly. So He will be using you to convey this message, these teachings, these lessons to them. This is the way. And the more you are sharing, the more we will give you. If you are keeping for yourself because you do not know people to know as much as you do, then it will lead you nowhere. And God will not give you more. So, God trusts more those who are obedient to Him, even when they do not understand fully the purpose behind it. Listen to these words of Isaiah 55 verse 3. Give ear and come to me. Listen that you may live. I will make an everlasting covenant with you. My faithful love promised to David. Listen to this. The more you pray, the more opportunity you give to the Lord to communicate with you. That's why it's important. If you do not have time for prayer anymore, it's dangerous. The more you hear from God, the easier it will become to understand His voice and consequently discern and understand His will. It goes without saying that life is better when listening to the Holy Spirit. He cares about you and will take care of each of your steps, no matter how insignificant and small. Listening, even in the most insignificant situations, will save you a lot of headache. So make it your life's goal to live for God's will, even in the little steps. You may feel they don't matter, but everything about